I just got back from the hospital after having my appendix removed, and my husband's secretary, Tiffany Johnson, brought me some cold spicy noodle soup. Then she posted a new update on her social media, a picture of my neatly groomed in a business suit, with my beautiful and delicate daughter sitting with her at a food truck eating spicy noodle soup, captioned, "The greatest happiness in the world is having my husband and daughter by my side." I was heartbroken and filed for divorce. My husband was impatient, saying, "You're just being dramatic. Who would want you after me?" My daughter rolled her eyes at me with disdain. "My dad supports you. You should be grateful. You're not as sensible as Aunt Tiffany." But later, I gave in to their wishes. Yet, she cried and asked, "Mommy, why don't you want me anymore?" When David Smith, who hadn't been answering my calls, came back with our daughter, Lily Smith, I had just finished eating some oatmeal I made. The little girl was wearing a princess dress that I had carefully chosen for her, holding a stuffed animal from the claw machine, a bright smile on her pretty little face. But when she saw me, the smile faded a little, replaced by some impatience. David Smith's handsome, indifferent face didn't show any emotion, but when he saw the spicy noodle soup in the trash can, a hint of anger flashed across his face. "Ashley Smith, what is this about?" His tone was questioning. I met his gaze and said lightly, "I don't like it." "Well, aren't you just too good for the simple things?" A quiet grumble that stood out in the silence. Looking at the daughter I had carried for 10 months, I felt a chill run down my spine. When she was first born, David Smith's parents didn't like that she was a girl and didn't want to hold her. I held her day and night, doing everything myself. Even David Smith only looked after her when he had time. I couldn't understand what went wrong to him. Make her hate me so much. I used to look for problems within myself, but now, seeing David Smith's attitude, I suddenly understood. She and David Smith were indeed father and daughter. Even their preferences were the same. Looking at her, my heart gradually cooled. "Ashley Smith, you've really been staying at home for too long. You don't know how hard life is. I work hard to earn money outside, and you're just wasting it?" The angry accusation washed over me. But that bowl of spicy noodle soup, leftovers that they had packed up, cost less than $20 altogether. In his eyes, that was considered extravagant. "Since when does Mr. Smith nickel and dime me?" Before David Smith could say anything, Lily Smith pouted and complained. "Isn't a few dollars still money? You're used to eating for free, aren't you? You're not like Aunt Tiffany at all." I wish Aunt Tiffany was my mommy. David Smith's expression faltered when he heard this, but he didn't correct her. It seemed that he thought so too. I suddenly wanted to laugh. He was the one who asked me to give up my high-paying job to be a stay-at-home mom. Now, he was the one who complained that I didn't have a job and no income. And that daughter I had given half my life to give birth to had become a knife aimed at me on this day. Forget it, I was tired. I nodded in agreement. "Yes, I think so too. David Smith, let's get a divorce. I'll let you have your family of 3. David Smith was impatient. "You want to divorce over such a small thing? You're just being dramatic. Who would want you after me?" Lily Smith rolled her eyes at me with disdain. "My dad supports you. You should be grateful. You're not as sensible as Aunt Tiffany." Yes, I wasn't sensible. So, I let their family of 3 reunite. After filing for divorce, I packed my bags decisively. David Smith and Lily Smith watched, a look of amusement in their eyes. They thought that I had been at home for 5 years, completely abandoned my social life, and had already been rejected by society. I wouldn't be able to survive without him. But he didn't know that after Lily Smith started kindergarten, I picked up my brushes again, and recently submitted a design entry for a competition, and had passed the preliminary round. I originally planned to share this joy with them. But every time I was about to say it, either Lily Smith had an accident, or his secretary had an accident, and our family of 3 rarely had time to be together. However, I was now very glad that I didn't say it. In the past, my life revolved around them, father and daughter. Now, and in the future, I only wanted to live for myself. I quickly packed my bags and hired a cleaning company. Since I was leaving, I had to leave completely. David Smith's face changed when he saw me hiring people to clean the house. The look in his eyes was complicated, as if he only now believed that I really wanted a divorce. My clothes are all packed. The nanny will take you to clean the rooms. Pay attention, don't touch anything that doesn't belong to me. I arranged everything in an orderly manner. Lily Smith stood next to me holding a doll, a look of hesitation on her face when she looked at me, and I just glanced at her lightly, like a stranger. There was no emotion at all. David Smith also noticed this and walked towards me angrily, grabbing my arm and scolding, "Ashley Smith, what are you doing? You know very well whether I'm making a fuss or not, Mr. Smith. We're about to get a divorce. Please respect yourself." I broke free from his hand and kept a certain distance from him. I said lightly, "Tomorrow, find some time and we'll file for divorce at City Hall." David Smith laughed angrily and gritted his teeth. "Okay, you're good, but you have to remember, once you leave this house, you're never allowed to come back." "Daughter." "I don't want the daughter. You can have her." I interrupted him impatiently. He was stunned, and Lily Smith was also st. They didn't expect that I would give up custody so decisively. She didn't expect that I would give her up unconditionally, just like she gave me up. I avoided their surprised gazes and went to the master bedroom to take out the only wedding photo. When we went to take the wedding photo, he was very reluctant because he didn't like taking pictures and always avoided the camera. But wedding photos were necessary for the wedding banquet, and I hoped that my wedding could be perfect, so I kept begging him. Fortunately, he cooperated. But the photo didn't turn out as I expected. There was no joy of getting married on his face, only impatience. At that time, facing my complaints, he said, "I never liked taking pictures. I only took pictures with you because of you." But when he appeared in Tiffany Johnson's camera that day, there was no impatience on his face, but a hint of gentleness and happiness. So, he didn't dislike taking pictures, he just didn't want to take pictures with me. Looking at the photo in front of me, with myself smiling brightly and him looking impatient, I felt a pang of sadness. Not loving someone is so obvious. But I was immersed in the beautiful dream I had woven and didn't see it. I took a deep breath and took the photo out of the frame. David Smith raised his eyebrows lightly and said quickly, "I knew you couldn't bear to." With a tearing sound, the wedding photo in my hand was torn into 2 complete halves. Then, in his shocked gaze, I handed him his half. I also paid for the wedding photos. I only want my share now. David Smith was a typical self-made man. When he was at his most difficult, I lived with him in a basement apartment and ate instant noodles with him for half a month. I even became seriously ill because of it and stayed in the hospital for half a month. My mother felt sorry for me and advised me to break up. I didn't listen and insisted on following him. Later, when the economy improved, he used all the money he had to buy a house. He said, "Your existence is my motivation. In order to prevent you from running away with someone else, I have to buy a house to trap you. But believe me, I will definitely make you the envy of everyone as Mrs. Smith." But when it came time to get married, he didn't have much money left. So, I used my private savings to make up for the missing money. That night, he held me and cried very sadly. He said he was sorry to me, he would compensate me, and he would be good to me for the rest of his life. He really did what he said. But no matter how much they envied me, David Smith and I could never go back to the way we were. Perhaps, Compared to the current him, I preferred the simple young man from before. David Smith was shocked by my actions and couldn't say a word for a long time. I didn't bother to pay attention to his emotions and told the cleaning company to speed up, completely erasing all traces of my life here, one by one. After all this was done, I left with my luggage. David Smith and Lily Smith were both there when I left, but neither of them gave me a look. It didn't matter. From now on, what's done is done. After leaving the Smiths, I stayed in a hotel for a while, waiting to complete the divorce procedures and leave this place. However, Tiffany Johnson heard about my divorce and sent me a message. She said, "Mrs. Smith, Mr. Smith is very good to you. Don't be angry and come back soon. Lily Smith will miss her mommy too." Her words were full of obvious bitchiness. I suppressed my disgust and replied with, "Crazy." After sending the message, I directly blocked her. I didn't want this kind of disgusting text message to hurt my eyes. But not long after, David Smith hurriedly called. I thought he had made time for the divorce and answered the phone. But before I could speak, his angry voice came from the other end of the phone. "Ashley Smith, apologized to Tiffany Johnson immediately." Before I could react, he said, "Can you change your jealous personality? Did she say anything wrong? You just scold people. Was your upbringing eaten by a dog?" Hearing this, I immediately realized what had happened. Tiffany Johnson showed him the chat log just now. I resisted the urge to roll my eyes and said unhurriedly, "Eaten by you. What?" He was stunned for a moment, then quickly reacted, "Ashley Smith, if you insist on being stubborn, then don't blame me for not remembering our past. We'll file for divorce tomorrow. Lily Smith doesn't need a mother like you who throws tantrums." His words were exactly what I wanted to hear, but for some reason, my heart ached terribly. I took a deep breath. "Okay, see you at City Hall at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. They say when you lose in love, you win in your career." The second David Smith hung up the phone, I received the final notification. To participate in the finals, I had to bring my latest work to the venue in person. Counting the time, there was still a month left, just enough time to complete the divorce procedures. The next day, I arrived at City Hall on time. I waited for an hour before David Smith arrived. He brought Lily Smith with him. No one had combed her hair, and she was disheveled, but she was still wearing a tutu. She didn't say hello when she saw me. I ignored her and focused on the divorce registration window not far away. "Let's go, there's not many people today, we'll be done soon." David Smith pursed his lips and stood still. I gave him a questioning look, and Lily Smith walked towards me hesitantly. She handed me a hair tie and said stiffly, "Mommy, can you comb my hair?" Looking at the miniature version of myself, my face showed no expression. I said lightly, "I'm not your nanny, why are you asking me?" She stiffened for a moment and said loudly, "You're my mommy. Don't you have a new mommy in mind? Go find her." My emotions were very calm, with some impatience. David Smith glared at me and said unhappily, "You're so old, why are you arguing with a child? Don't you know that children don't mean what they say? She doesn't mean what she says. What are you, a habitual liar?" He was annoyed. "When did I lie to you?" "Many times, still lied to me for others. But I didn't want to argue." I interrupted impatiently, "Okay, just say you don't want a divorce." "Who said I don't want to? Let's go, let's get a divorce." David Smith's face was terribly gloomy. He walked towards the window with a cold face. It wasn't until we both signed the papers that I felt like a weight had been lifted off my chest. I breathed a sigh of relief, put away my documents and walked towards the door, completely ignoring how ugly the faces of the two behind me were. After finishing these things, I returned to the hotel. Next, I would focus on my design. 2 days later, my cousin suddenly called. She said anxiously. Ashley, Emily was beaten at kindergarten. Her father and I are away on business, and her grandparents are also busy. Can you go to the kindergarten to see what's going on? In my impression, Emily was a very shy little girl with a gentle personality. It was impossible for her to have a conflict with others. I replied quickly, "Okay, I'll go take a look." After hanging up the phone, I took a cab to the kindergarten. Emily and Lily Smith were in the same kindergarten, so the teachers all knew me. Seeing me come, they were surprised and asked, "Lily Smith's mother, what's your relationship with Emily?" "She's my niece. What happened?" Emily was brought over by her teacher. There was a visible handprint on her delicate face, and her bright eyes were full of tears. When she saw me, she couldn't stop crying. She cried and shouted, "Auntie, my face hurts so much." I felt so sorry for her and hugged her to comfort her. "Teacher Zhang, what exactly happened? Which child was so heavy-handed?" This was obviously intentional. "You must call her parents." The teacher looked at me with embarrassment, stammering a bit. At this time, a familiar voice came from the door of the teacher's office. "Lily Smith, don't be afraid. Aunt Tiffany is here. Auntie won't let you be wronged." Hearing this, I paused. Tiffany Johnson also brought Lily Smith in at this time. She was stunned when she saw me, but quickly regained her composure and said quickly, "Sister Ashley, you're here too. You must have heard that Lily Smith was beaten. I'm relieved that you're here." "What beaten?" There were no injuries on Lily Smith's body at all, not even her hair was messy. On the other hand, Emily didn't even know where her hair tie had been thrown, her face was covered with a big handprint, and even her calves had bruises of varying depths. My face immediately darkened. I said coldly, "Lily Smith, make it clear, were you beaten, or did you beat Emily?" Lily Smith looked stubborn and bit her lip before saying loudly, "She hit me." As soon as she raised her voice, Emily subconsciously hid behind me. Lily Smith's eyes became even more disgusted and angry when she looked at her. I saw her emotional changes and felt a fire rising in my heart, but my face was still calm. Tiffany Johnson quickly came out and said, "Sister Ashley, you can't trust anyone else, but you must trust your own daughter. It must be." "Shut up. What right do you have to interfere in this matter?" I interrupted her impatiently. Tiffany Johnson's face changed again and again, her eyes showing fear. I didn't help my own, and directly asked the teacher to retrieve the classroom surveillance video. As a result, when I saw Lily Smith riding on Emily and hitting her in the surveillance video, I couldn't hold back my anger any longer. Lily Smith also felt guilty at this time and backed away nervously. I walked towards her unhurriedly. She opened her mouth, "Mommy." Before she could finish speaking, I said, "Emily, hit her back." Everyone present was stunned. None of them thought I would say that. Tiffany Johnson looked distressed and spoke to her, "Sister Ashley, children don't know any better. You're going too far by doing this." I stared at her and said fiercely, "Those with no upbringing should be taught a lesson." Lily Smith's face turned pale. Emily didn't dare to hit her and came over to pull on my skirt. "Auntie, I'm okay. Lily Smith didn't do it on purpose. Let's just forgive her." "Who needs your forgiveness?" Lily Smith interrupted her crying and looked at me. "It's your fault for being biased. You buy her princess dresses but don't buy me any. She even wore it to show off. I just want to tear her dress." She was still like this, thinking that everything should be hers, completely disregarding other people's feelings. But she forgot that I bought two of the same dress, but she thought it was ugly and threw it in the trash behind my back. I took Emily's hand and said indifferently, "Because you don't deserve it. You simply don't deserve to receive my love." "Sister Ashley, you're going too far by saying that." I looked at Tiffany Johnson, who said this, and sneered, "You're even less deserving as someone who sleeps with a married man. Take care of your daughter, and if there's a next time, I definitely won't let you off easily." After saying this, I said goodbye to the teacher with Emily. Then I took her away from the kindergarten. To make up for the hurt she suffered, I took her shopping for clothes again. Emily was very sensible. She didn't forget to say while trying on the dress, "Auntie, buy one for Lily Smith too. She must like this kind of princess dress." No need. You don't have to care about her anymore. I bought her 2 princess dresses and took her out for a meal before sending her home. But after this incident, the fact that I was divorced couldn't be hidden. My cousin called me that night and asked me what happened. I was very calm. I couldn't make it work, so I got a divorce. What about the child? Many people support their broken marriages for the sake of their children. My cousin also had this idea. She felt that you can't hurt the child just because the parents no longer have feelings. No matter what, life should go on like this. But I didn't like it. First of all, I'm myself, and then I'm someone's wife and someone's mother. If I don't even have the right to choose my own life, what's the point of living? Just like what those netizens said, it's the first time being human. Why should I put up with her? Cousin, have you ever felt your own child become a knife aimed at you? What made me the saddest wasn't David Smith's change of heart, but Lily Smith's attitude. Her current existence was like saying that my past few years had been a failure. I was now starting to feel confused. Why did I give up my job for her in the first place? My cousin listened to me and was silent for a long time. Finally, she sighed deeply. Yes, life is all about seeking happiness. Just be yourself. After chatting with her for a while, my parents called again. My mother asked me why Lily Smith was crying and calling her. My mother was a teacher before she retired, and she paid more attention to children's education than anyone else. I told her everything that happened in the kindergarten and said, "David Smith and I are divorced, and the child belongs to him. From now on, let's not interfere in her education." According to Lily Smith's temper, she would definitely talk about our divorce. Sure enough, my mother wasn't surprised at all when I said this. She just blamed me a little. "I told you that you two weren't suitable. You just wouldn't listen. Now you've hit a wall. Isn't life all about trying?" I had already given everything to pursue what I wanted. Even if I ended up scarred all over, it was still me paying the price for my naivety. That night, I talked to my mother for a long time, so much so that I overslept the next day. The divorce procedures hadn't been completely completed yet. I had nothing to do here, so I thought about traveling to relax. It just so happened that kindergarten had also started its summer vacation. My cousin was worried that there was no one to take care of her child. I suggested that Emily be my travel companion and accompany me to relax. After agreeing, I set off with her the next day. Emily was very obedient and followed me wherever I went, which made me very worry-free. Many places were having summer events during the summer vacation. I played a lot of projects with her and took a lot of photos. I updated my social media every day, which was also a way to report back to my cousin. "Emily, it's getting dark now, and it's not that hot outside. Let's go out and visit the night market." "Okay." Emily put on her small backpack and walked out of the hotel with me. We walked and discussed what to eat later. 2 familiar figures walked towards us. Lily Smith's eyes lit up when she saw me. "Daddy, Mommy is there." She was carrying a small backpack that looked a lot like Emily's, but she was no longer wearing a princess dress, but an ordinary white dress. If you didn't look closely, it could be said that it was exactly the same as what Emily was wearing now. I was afraid that she would hurt Emily again, so I pretended not to see her and led Emily straight to the hotel entrance. David Smith and Lily Smith hurried after us. "Ashley Smith, no matter what, Lily Smith is still your daughter. You should bring her along when you're playing with other people's children. Mr. Smith, if you've forgotten that we're divorced, I might as well remind you again. I said indifferently without turning my head. But Lily Smith. I couldn't take it anymore and turned around, looking disgusted. That's your daughter, not mine. Please don't bother me anymore. Lily Smith's eyes filled with tears, and she bit her lip tightly as she looked at me. She seemed to want to call me, but she didn't dare to. I didn't have time to play these boring games with them, so I glared at them impatiently and left with Emily. After walking out of the hotel, Ailey looked back and said softly, "Auntie, Lily Smith is crying." Whatever. They taught me that crying can't solve all problems. She should also understand this simple truth. Emily and I walked around and ate outside until 11 o'clock before returning to the hotel. As soon as we walked into the lobby, the receptionist reminded us, "Ms. Smith, your room has been upgraded. It's the penthouse suite on the top floor. This is your room number." I was stunned. I didn't upgrade the room. Someone did it for you, saying that it's safer to stay in the penthouse suite with a child. Hearing this, I understood whose hand it was. So, I didn't refuse. He already owed me, so he should do whatever he could. I felt no guilt and took Emily to the top floor. But I didn't expect that Lily Smith's room was next to ours. When we walked to the door, she was wearing pajamas and holding a doll, waiting at the door. And David Smith was watching next to her. "Mommy, the room here is so big. I'm afraid to sleep alone. Can I sleep with you?" Her words were cautious and ingratiating. David Smith's face was tense, waiting for my answer. "No." I mercilessly shattered the hope that had risen in her heart. Lily Smith's eyes filled with tears again, and she looked at me timidly. My face didn't change, and I used the words she used to say to me, "I don't like sleeping with you. It makes me feel annoyed." She used to be afraid to sleep alone, so I went to accompany her. But she said such things to me, and said it would be great if Aunt Tiffany was here. She seemed to remember, her voice choked up. "Mommy, I was wrong. I won't say such things again." David Smith couldn't stand it anymore and walked over, but his attitude had softened a lot. "Ashley, Lily Smith is still young and doesn't know right from wrong. After all, she's the child you carried for 10 months. Be more tolerant of her." "Why? David Smith, what face do you have to say such things to me? You wanted Tiffany Johnson to be your wife and mother, and I took the initiative to quit to fulfill your wishes. But you're not happy. What exactly do you two want to do?" David Smith's face froze, and he explained palely, "I never thought about marrying her." "Don't you feel disgusted saying that? You have money, so you want to have fun and find a different feeling, right? In the end, you feel that the novelty has passed and want to return to the family, and I should unconditionally tolerate you." David Smith, are you stupid? Or am I stupid? Ashley Smith, there's nothing between her and me. You're the one who's overthinking. There was a child here, so I didn't want to say anything too harsh. I sneered, "You better get as far away as possible and don't let me see you again." Emily and I went into the room and slammed the door shut. Lily Smith couldn't hold back anymore and burst into tears. "Daddy, Mommy doesn't want me anymore," she said, sobbing. David Smith's face was also full of dejection and loneliness. "I not only didn't want her, but I didn't even want her dad. I didn't care about them and had a good night's sleep with Emily. When I woke up the next day, there was a knock on the door. I went to open it and saw Lily Smith standing in front of a stroller. There was a covered tray on the stroller. David Smith explained from the side, "It's your birthday today. Lily Smith and I went to the kitchen to make you birthday pancakes. Try them while they're hot." Both father and daughter had expectant looks on their faces. People passing by cast envious glances. Look at other people's husbands and daughters, so gentle and considerate. I'd be content if I could find someone like that in my life. Exactly, I'd laugh in my sleep if I had a husband and daughter like that. Hearing their words, I felt nothing. If it were before, I might have been touched, but now I only found it laughable. I don't usually eat pancakes in the morning. And there's a little cake too. Lily Smith eagerly chimed in, timid. Ly saying, Mom, I learned how to make little cakes from the nanny. I made this for you myself. She opened the lid of the small plate beside her, revealing a cake with Happy Birthday Mom written on it. The letters were crooked, but it was clear she had put her heart into it. But I knew. Our nanny never made cakes. I always made them myself whenever someone in our family had a birthday because I'm allergic to many fruits, and I pay attention when choosing the fillings. She must have learned this from Tiffany Johnson. Just then, a sleepy-eyed Emily came out. Seeing the cake, she exclaimed, Wow, and then asked in confusion, Aunt Ashley, aren't you allergic to mangoes? There's mango on this. Hearing this, the father and daughter's expectant faces flashed with panic. I'm sorry, Ashley, it's all my fault. I forgot about that. Lily Smith didn't mean to. It's okay, I said with a faint smile, shaking my head. David Smith visibly breathed a sigh of relief. I added, I'm not eating it, so it doesn't concern me. Lily Smith and David Smith were stunned for a moment, and then said, You can't eat this. We'll make another one. I'll remember this time. No need. I don't want anything from you. Don't waste the ingredients. My emotions were flat. I waved Emily over to pack her little backpack. Today was the last day of the trip, and we were taking a plane back in the afternoon. We had to pack our luggage in the morning so we wouldn't be rushed in the afternoon. Lily Smith was still unwilling to give up. Mom, I want to be with you. I said, I don't want to. David Smith said, Ashley, don't you think you're being too cruel to Lily Smith? What does it have to do with me? Go find your beloved Tiffany Johnson. I couldn't be bothered to argue with them and simply closed the door. Lily Smith wouldn't leave and cried while knocking on the door outside. David Smith called me, but I glanced at it and hung up. I wouldn't block him, just for the divorce proceedings later. 9a. Aunt Ashley, why don't you like Lily Smith anymore? Emily asked curiously, blinking her innocent eyes. I took a tissue from the side and wiped the cream from the corner of her mouth, smiling as I said, It's reciprocal. Whoever likes me, I like them, don't you think? Yeah. I like Aunt Ashley, and I like Mommy and Daddy too, so Aunt Ashley likes me, right? Before I could answer, Lily Smith appeared before us, fuming. She made no attempt to hide her dislike for Emily, retorting, You're talking nonsense. I'm Mom's real daughter. Mom likes me the most. Emily's eyes flickered with fear at her sudden appearance. She had been gentle since she was a child. When the two of them played together before, Lily Smith always dominated, and Lily Smith had bullied her quite a bit. But I always stopped her. I don't know why, but after I stopped her, her dislike for Emily would deepen. Lily Smith, when are you going to stop making a scene? I held the startled Emily in my arms, comforting her. Lily Smith widened her eyes in disbelief, her eyes filled with hurt. Mom, I'm your daughter. You're protecting her. Since when have you ever treated me like your mom? I interrupted impatiently, disgustedly saying, You're just like your dad. You used to discard me like worn shoes, and now that I don't want you, you're both crawling back. Is it amusing to you? I knew David Smith was nearby. My voice wasn't too loud or too soft, just enough for the people around to hear. Just enough for him to hear. Not far away, David Smith squeezed the cup tightly when he heard my words, his handsome face, which he tried to control, flashed with hurt. Then, he got up and walked towards me. Ashley, Do you really want to sever ties with us? His voice trembled as he spoke. I was visibly impatient. Are you blind? Can't you tell? I was really tired. I didn't want to stay here even for another moment. I took Emily and returned to the hotel to pack our luggage and leave. Finally, in the evening, we arrived at our destination. My cousin picked us up in her car. After picking us up, she took us to a restaurant she had booked in advance. As soon as we sat down, she started telling me about recent events. Did David Smith's mom contact you? I asked in confusion. Why would she contact me? His mom is going around telling everyone that her son is getting a divorce and wants you to take Lily Smith away so she doesn't delay her new daughter-in-law from giving her a grandson. What she said summed up the important points. Knowing David Smith's mom's personality, she was probably saying all sorts of things about me behind my back. She had said to my face several times before that I couldn't produce a son and would cause their family line to die out. Now that someone was willing to give her a grandson, she must be overjoyed. It doesn't matter, it's his family matter, it has nothing to do with me. But what about Lily Smith? What if David Smith doesn't want her either? Lily Smith is so young. Without her parents' protection, what will she do in the future? I took a small bite of the sausage, unhurriedly saying, he won't abandon Lily Smith, you can rest assured about that. We had planned to have a second child after Lily Smith started kindergarten, but we couldn't conceive no matter what we tried. Later, after going to the hospital for a checkup, we found out that his sperm activity was very low, and wanting a second child was simply wishful thinking. To protect his pride, I told everyone that it was my problem. As a result, his mom couldn't wait to call us every day and demand a divorce. I told my cousin about this, and she sighed with emotion. I thought my brother-in-law was in good health. I didn't expect this. Looks good but useless, only others find it precious. Perhaps that's why he said he wouldn't marry Tiffany Johnson. Tiffany Johnson was still young, and if she really married into the family, she would definitely need a child to secure her position. But he was no longer capable of that, and her dream of becoming a wealthy lady would definitely be shattered. But none of that had anything to do with me. I didn't need to let these things affect my mood. Time flew by, and the day to file for divorce at City Hall arrived. David Smith was still very late. This time, he didn't bring Lily Smith. He just looked extremely tired. He looked at me, hesitant. Ashley, don't waste time, let's go in and register. I didn't want to look at him anymore and turned to walk towards City Hall. Ashley, a child can't be without a mother. Shouldn't you reconsider the divorce? David Smith, if you're not willing to divorce, I'll file for divorce litigation. I stated my position, determined to divorce. David Smith realized my determination and lowered his head like a defeated dog. After entering City Hall, I signed my name without hesitation. When it was his turn, he froze for a long time. Finally, urged by the staff, he slowly signed his name. Watching the divorce certificate being stamped, I felt unparalleled relief. For the past few years, I had been living for others. And from this moment on, I was destined to live for myself. I smiled as I took the divorce certificate from the staff, even looking at him with a hint of a smile. In contrast, David Smith's pale face was filled with dejection. Walking out of City Hall, he suddenly stopped me, asking in a deep voice, "Why do you want to divorce me after all?" Even now, he still didn't understand. I was in a good mood, so I said a few more words to him. When Lily Smith was sick in the first half of the year, I called you several times, but you didn't answer. I took her to the hospital for a checkup alone, but I saw you in the hospital with another woman getting in for drip. From that day on, I had the idea of getting a divorce. However, for the sake of the child, I endured it. David Smith was stunned, explaining palely, "I really didn't think much about it at the time. You took Lily Smith to see her frequently, and you were constantly talking about Tiffany Johnson. At that time, I was wondering what the point of me continuing this marriage was. The result was, there was no point. David Smith was speechless, his eyes filled with guilt. I continued, the day I filed for divorce, I had just had appendicitis surgery. I called you countless times, but you still didn't answer. When everyone else had family members to accompany them, I was all alone. And that day, my husband and daughter were with another woman eating spicy noodle soup that they wouldn't even look at usually. Disappointment doesn't happen overnight, it accumulates little by little. It's exhausting to give your heart and not get an equal return. I filed for divorce because I was tired, I couldn't afford it anymore. After listening to my words, David Smith's deep eyes were filled with guilt and regret. Ashley, I'm sorry. I really didn't realize these things. It doesn't matter. From now on, let's just be strangers. After saying this, I turned and left. My luggage was already packed. After having lunch with my cousin, they took me to the airport. Aunt Ashley, don't forget about me. We'll be here waiting for you to come home. Emily handed over her favorite doll, looking reluctant. Okay, when Aunt Ashley comes back, I'll buy you more pretty princess dress. I ruffled her hair, and she almost couldn't help but cry. My cousin wished me a safe journey. I smiled, picked up my luggage, and walked towards the boarding gate. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw two familiar figures not far away. Lily Smith was crying her eyes out, and David Smith was full of reluctance. My eyes flickered slightly, but I quickly retracted them. I don't force what doesn't belong to me, but I will never let go of what should belong to me. No one has the right to interfere in my life. My life should be like the bright sky, brilliant and dazzling. My time. 11. 3 years later, my career had stabilized. My parents had completely handed over power to me, and the two old people were happily living their retirement life. Shuan and I confirmed our relationship. With her support, I signed up for the Paralympics 10-meter air rifle event in the name of the club. Standing on the field of my dreams, I felt unusually calm. Maybe Samantha Sam Green's endless torment had long since given me a strong heart. I performed exceptionally well in the competition, winning a silver medal. Because my right hand was disabled, I kept it in my pocket. The posture of shooting sideways with one hand had a killer-like relaxed beauty. This scene immediately made me a trending topic. Some netizens even joked that I was taking a side job while on a mission to assassinate someone, and I casually won a silver medal. Don't ask why I didn't win a gold medal, just know that the employer didn't pay enough. I just smiled at this. At the award ceremony, the scene of me and Shuan sharing a kiss was broadcast all over the world. I gently hung the medal around her neck as a token of love. Later, I heard from friends back home. Samantha Sam Green had an emotional breakdown when she saw this broadcast in prison. She knelt in front of the TV and cried bitterly, calling my name over and over again, until she fainted from crying and was taken away for rescue. After the competition, Shuan and I got married. A small town by the Mississippi River, a quaint and solemn church. We exchanged rings in the presence of the priest. We made a lifelong vow. I didn't expect to hear news about Lucas Luke Reed at the wedding. After entering prison, he was often bullied by other inmates. He was pretending to have depression, but this time he really developed a mental illness. However, he inadvertently heard from an inmate that the people who bullied him were deliberately arranged by Samantha Sam Green before she went to prison. It was to vent her anger for our husband. He couldn't take the blow and went completely insane. During an outside work detail, he swallowed stones and committed suicide. He had been dead for half a year. Listening to friends' gossip, my heart was neither sad nor happy. I suddenly realized that I hadn't thought about Samantha Sam Green and Lucas Luke Reed for a long time. The previous 7 years of marriage had gradually blurred, as if it was just a fragmented dream. I heard from Samantha Sam Green again 2 years after the wedding. At that time, Shuan and I were traveling around the world. When the phone was connected, Samantha Sam Green's hoarse voice said, "Liam Anderson, do you love me?" I felt a little disgusted, and Samantha Sam Green said anxiously, "Please, Liam Anderson, please just say you love me. This is really important. Liam Anderson, say you love me, just say it, okay?" I hung up the phone directly. Not long after, I received a news push. A boat that was smuggled from America to Australia encountered a storm at sea. The only woman who had a chance to survive gave up seeking help and was buried in the ocean. The ship's dashboard camera showed a thin, hunched woman crying into her phone. She was clutching a yellowed wedding photo when she died. It was our wedding photo with Samantha Sam Green. I silently swiped away this push, my heart without any ripples. "Honey, it's time to board." Ahead, Shuan waved at me with a large teddy bear in her arms. I smiled warmly, turned off my phone, ran over and wrapped my arm around her waist, and stepped onto the next stop of the journey. The end. Why property, but I didn't plan to keep it anymore. I put it online and quickly found a buyer. Sophia Jones was forced to move out. During this time, she came to me every day, begging for my forgiveness. I treated her like air. If she pestered me too much, I would have the security guards kick her out. Because she offended the Hollywood Paramount Studios' big boss, my father, and Lucy Stone, Sophia Jones was soon frozen, and before long, a video of her arguing with Ethan Hall on the street corner was also exposed. She not only cursed Ethan Hall without regard for her image, but also slapped him. Almost overnight, Sophia Jones became a notorious celebrity whom everyone avoided. 21 After a month-long cooling-off period, I successfully got my divorce certificate. Lucy Stone accompanied me that day. Sophia Jones seemed to want to say something to me, but she didn't dare to say more after Lucy Stone glared at her. Because of what Lucy Stone had told the reporters last time, her popularity had not decreased. Most of the fans supported her in bravely pursuing the person she loved. On the way back, I couldn't help but ask Lucy Stone, "Why did you suddenly agree to sign with my father and enter the Hollywood Paramount Studios back then?" In my mind, Lucy Stone had always been a very low-key person. Like me, she didn't yearn for the extravagant Hollywood Paramount Studios at all. Lucy Stone said, because someone said he wanted his lyrics to be heard and loved by everyone. I was stunned for a long time before I realized it. I had loved writing lyrics since I was a child, and I had used my father's connections to write lyrics for some singers under a pseudonym. When I graduated from high school, I wrote a song that I was particularly satisfied with, but I was always worried about not having a suitable singer. At that time, my father suddenly asked for my lyrics, and then Lucy Stone used that song to debut and became famous overnight. Sighing at the fleeting glimpse under the moon, exchanging this life for endless love and hate, love so deep in the bones and marrow, how can it be forgotten, embracing passion to melt ice and snow, love lasts through the years, the rest of my life is long, this feeling is continuous. Lucy Stone looked at me, her eyes slightly wet. I thought if I didn't say it, you would understand my feelings one day. I knew you didn't like entering the Hollywood Paramount Studios, so I chose to retreat and become a behind-the-scenes music producer. But you were completely unaware of my feelings. As she spoke, Lucy Stone's face turned red. So did my ears. We were childhood sweethearts who had known each other for many years. In my heart, Lucy Stone had always been an unattainable queen. I never thought that she would be so deeply in love with me. 22 Just as my heart was pounding, Lucy Stone suddenly raised the corners of her mouth and smiled. "Fortunately, you're single again starting today." Her smile was very bright. "Now I can like you openly." 23. Half a year passed, and Ethan Hall's value plummeted due to scandals. The former A-list male entertainers/celebrities were reduced to a state where no one cared about them. As for Sophia Jones, her name seemed to have been completely swallowed up by the waves of the Hollywood Paramount Studios, becoming a footnote in the history of the past. The dazzling stage of the Hollywood Paramount Studios never hesitated to eliminate those who pinned their hopes on shortcuts. Only self-improvement and hardworking souls can gain a foothold here. As the end of the year approached, Lucy Stone and I were strolling on the bustling streets. At a crowded street corner, I saw a familiar person I hadn't seen in a long time. It was Sophia Jones. In the dead of winter, she was dressed in thin clothes, shamelessly dancing suggestive dances on the street. On her exposed back was printed a QR code, and she was constantly shouting for passers-by to give her a gift card/cash in a gift envelope. But very few people stopped for her. I was filled with emotion for a moment. Lucy Stone saw through my thoughts and asked, "Want to go say hello?" I shook my head. I don't miss her at all. She chose this path herself. Lucy Stone smiled and stood on tiptoe to kiss my cheek. I smiled and hugged her tightly, whispering, "Hey, we're on the street. Aren't you afraid of trending again tomorrow?" Lucy Stone didn't care at all. "Anyway, it's no secret that you're my boyfriend. Have you seen my Weibo comments? They're all asking when we're getting married." I kissed her forehead and whispered, "So when are you going to agree to be Mrs. Greenoliver's father?" Lucy Stone avoided my burning gaze and pretended to be embarrassed. "That depends on your performance." Hearing this, I took her hand and intertwined our fingers. "Let's go home," she asked in confusion. "Didn't we agree to go shopping on Broadway?" I leaned over and whispered in her ear, "I can't wait. I want to go home and give you a good performance." The surrounding crowd was bustling, and the afterglow of the setting sun shone on us, warm and thick. A sense of unprecedented peace and happiness surged in my heart. At this moment, I knew that the happy story belonging to Lucy Stone and me had begun. The end. Know her flaws? Ryan deliberately put down his chopsticks. "So, what are you trying to tell me?" Jake put it rather vaguely. "What do you think of Ava? Since she has so many good qualities, isn't she pretty likable?" Originally, he meant that he hoped Ryan would like her too, but that's not how Ryan took it. Ryan's pupils gradually darkened, and he smiled mockingly before quickly reverting to his cold demeanor. "Are you done eating?" Ryan said. "I'll treat you next time." Ryan wasn't willing to accept any kindness from a rival. In the dimly lit woods, the sounds of a man and woman breathing intertwined faintly. Ava was being held on someone's lap. He seemed to like this position very much, because from that angle, he could move his lips wherever he wanted. Ava held the back of his head, her fingers interlacing in his hair, and Ava moaned softly. Ryan bit her hard, and Ava felt a sting of pain, which was immediately replaced by the mingling of saliva. His lips slid up her neck, each step with great force, finally landing on the corner of her mouth. After the saliva mixed, Ava felt pain and the faint taste of blood in her mouth. "Ah," she said, covering her lips and looking at him with wet eyes, as if accusing him. Ryan wiped away the blood, his eyes showing satisfaction, like a beast that had finally gotten its fill. To get revenge, Ava deliberately buried her head and smeared the lipstick in blood on his white collar. "Are you unhappy today?" "I'm happy now," Ryan said, stroking the top of her head, her soft black hair feeling like silk. "What did Jake say to you?" she asked curiously, looking up at him. "Nothing," Ryan said. Regardless of whether Jake really liked her, he wasn't going to tell her. Just like he couldn't take 2 cold showers at the same time. He couldn't fall for the same rival twice. Having tasted the joy of being together, the blood at the corner of her mouth was no longer enough. He looked at her, the girl's innocent pupils like pure white flowers. The mere thought of Ava falling into someone else's arms made him want to mark her as his own. Ryan returned to his dormitory hall, where Jake was playing a game. Out of the corner of his eye, he suddenly saw the red mark on Ryan's white collar. "Wait," he said, stunned, shouting at Ryan's back. "What's that on you?" Ryan turned around. Jake looked at it and was certain that it was lipstick and nothing else. "Were you forcibly kissed by a girl? Or were you choked?" Ryan looked down, having not noticed it before. Before he could say anything, Jake laughed. "Have the female students these days become so open?" "I think it's okay," Ryan said. Jake blinked, then spotted a cut on Ryan's lip. This injury, not in any other place, not at any other time, but specifically today, when his collar was stained with lipstick, shocked Jake, and a terrifying thought flashed through his mind. "Don't tell me you're dating," Jake said. "Yes," Ryan nodded, dropped a single word, and turned to go to the bathroom, leaving Jake stunned, and two roommates equally dumbfounded, who had jumped out of bed. "Do you believe it?" "No," they replied in unison. Ava waited for someone outside of New York University after class. Christmas was coming, and there were stalls selling overpriced apples everywhere on the street. Ava had always looked down on them, but now she was willing to be ripped off and bought 5. Ryan came out in his white BMW. Ava got in and touched the leather seats, exclaiming, "It's been a while." Back then, when she saw it, how could she have imagined that one day she would have the chance to sit in it? Ryan said, "If you like it, I can give it to you." His calm tone made it sound like he wasn't joking at all. Ava was startled and quickly said, "I'm kidding. No matter how rich we are, we can't spend money like that. You can't do that in the future." The words "we" in future made Ryan turn and smile softly, his eyes as if illuminated by the light of the setting sun. Ava took out the apples during dinner, offering him one like a treasure, a smile on her face. "I want to be the first person to give you Christmas apples." Ryan took it. "You don't have to go to so much trouble. I wouldn't accept Christmas apples from anyone else anyway." Ava smiled sweetly. His words were lonely, but especially touching. It was as if he had always been alone, but from now on, she would be involved. "Why did you buy 5? Ryan asked. "Oh, one is for you, one is for Jake, and the other 3 are for my roommates," she said as if it were normal, not noticing Ryan's darkening mood. They ate dinner, watched a movie, and went shopping for gifts for her roommate's upcoming birthday. Her roommate called her, asking her to buy takeout from a stall outside of campus. Then she received a call from her counselor, saying that she needed to send a file and didn't have access to a computer, so Ava called Jake to ask for his help. Ryan parked the car in the shadows outside of New York University, looking ahead with a cold, patient gaze as he tapped on the steering wheel. After waiting for her to hang up the phone, he turned to her, and the girl's pupils were finally free of any other complexities. "Am I taking up our date time?" Ava asked softly. "No," Ryan said, lying, but his mood wasn't high. He stopped tapping the steering wheel and adjusted his seat back. Understanding, she scrambled over and sat on his lap. As if to appease him, she cupped his face and kissed him as soon as she sat down. In the dim light and enclosed space, their breathing became increasingly unsteady, pulling, sucking, gradually losing breath. Ryan's lips were damp, as were his fingertips. "What have you been angry about lately?" she asked softly, hugging him. "I'm not angry," he said, still lying. "You're lying," Ava pouted. "You can't lie to me. I know everything about you." Ryan found the analogy unexpected and amusing. Raising an eyebrow. "Even more than when we were naked in the hotel last time?" Ava's cheeks flushed instantly. "I'm talking about something serious." "You're the one who wouldn't let me talk about something serious," Ryan said. He leaned in to kiss her again, but she wouldn't let him, insisting on hearing the reason. Ryan was helpless. He looked at her for a moment before saying, "You're too patient with too many people." What? Ava was stunned. Birthday gifts, Christmas apples, takeout, sending files. Ryan looked at her. "You're so patient with everyone, so considerate to everyone. I'm just like one of them." She was the special and unique one in his life, but he wasn't in hers. That was why, even after they were together, he still felt like Jake was a threat. He didn't like these emotional fluctuations, but he didn't think they were necessary, so he had been sulking. He desperately hoped that she would be like him, only longing for one person. It only took Ava a second to understand what he meant. She looked at him with bright eyes in the darkness, hugging him and saying, "My legs are weak now. Can you just take me back to my dormitory hall later?" Ryan nodded in agreement, and she sent a message to Jake from the passenger seat. She knew that the white BMW would cause a stir when it drove up, so she wasn't surprised when she saw students taking pictures. "Wait for me for 5 minutes. I'm going upstairs to get something." Ava unbuckled her seatbelt, ignoring the gazes of her friends and running upstairs. 5 minutes later, she ran down, knocked on the driver's side window, and Ryan got out. As soon as someone recognized who the owner of the car was, gasps of surprise rang out around them. Ava held a small box, like a treasure, looked at him, and handed it over happily and proudly. "What is it?" Ryan hadn't opened it yet. "A Christmas gift." She blinked. "One of a kind." He leaned against the car door and opened it under the streetle. Eyed, his dark pupils reflecting the things inside the small box. An empty sports drink/Gatorade bottle, a familiar flyer, and a small piece of paper. The note read, "Mr. Surian, didn't you sleep well last night? Have a good dream tonight." A memory suddenly flashed through Ryan's mind. Perhaps on a sleepless night, when he was dizzy and not thinking straight, he had called Ava, but hung up immediately. The next morning, the dormitory hall monitor stopped him and said, "Young man, a girl bought you milk and breakfast." He was in a terrible mood, glanced at the note, and said to the monitor, "Please, take it." "Thank you." He didn't look at the lonely breakfast again. It was left with someone else, without even a glance from its intended recipient. Ava, who was standing at the entrance of the men's dormitory hall, witnessed the whole thing. She sadly retrieved the note and left the breakfast for the monitor. The note had a faint yellow tint and was carefully taped up and preserved, showing how cherished it was. He looked up at her. "Don't think I treat you differently," Ava said. "You've been different from others since long before you disliked me. You've always been different. I've liked you, probably longer than you know." Who liked whom first? What did it matter? He didn't care. He only cared that all his careful planning was also treasured by her. Ryan smiled, and whether it was the starlight or something else, Ava seemed to see tears in his eyes. She opened her eyes wide with curiosity, but he was about to lean down and kiss her in front of everyone. "Wait!" She pushed him slightly. Seeing Ryan's confusion, she looked towards the end of the dormitory hall street until she saw Jake's familiar figure. Then she smiled, took the initiative to put her arms around his neck, and kissed him on tiptoe. Poor Jake, still running, was critically hit. The two people he thought couldn't stand each other were making out right in front of him. What the F*******. Jake and his roommate were dumbfounded. "Hey," Ava said, "let me introduce you. This is my boyfriend. Don't bully him in the dormitory hall in the future." She could keenly sense that the man beside her, who didn't outwardly express his emotions, was experiencing an exponential increase in happiness. Many people thought he was unwilling to express himself, arrogant and indifferent, but Ava was the opposite. Just as she could read that he liked her, she could also read at every different stage, when he was happy, when he was angry, and when he was down. It wasn't a misperception.